Hello, everybody. We are really impressed that on a Sunday evening, all of you are here. Welcome, everybody.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
ma'am.
All of you are coming from Delhi, NCR, or further than that?
Delhi.
All from Delhi? Okay, great. Welcome once again to this panel discussion.
Thank you. Welcome.
Um, I generally like interactive session, particularly with students. But today we have a wonderful panel over here with some excellent and experienced speakers who are going to speak to you all about something which hopefully is going to be useful for all of you. All of you are, I guess, in high school, thinking about transition into higher education and future career in the 21st century, which is a very radically different era compared to when we grew up in the previous century or our parents' generation. A lot of things have changed, and education is also changing very fast. And at our university, we are doing a lot of very innovative things in terms of pedagogy at the higher education level. At the same time, through our Institute of Higher Education, we are also trying to generate a dialogue with the school sector because schools are actually feeders into higher education. And unless we generate this dialogue with the school sector, what we are trying to do at the higher education level will not be that very successful, talking about interdisciplinarity of education. So that's why the title of our topic today, my name is Dr. Moushumi Mukherjee. I am Associate Professor and Deputy Director at the International Institute of Higher Education at Jindal Global University. And the topic of today's panel discussion is interdisciplinary education in the 21st century. And we have a question after that. And this is something we were discussing in the other room before we came here. Are we ready for it? Okay, so as we speak with our panelists over here, and also with all of you, those of you who are present in this room, I can see, I think some parents are also here in this room, apart from the students. We'll also discuss with you whether we are ready for interdisciplinary curriculum and education or not. Though I just returned from an education conference and I was sharing with my colleagues here, interdisciplinarity of curriculum is literally the need of the hour in the 21st century. But why is it so? We are going to talk about it in the course of this panel discussion, and then we are going to have the discussion with you whether we here in India, we are ready for it or not. Okay, let me first introduce to you all the panelists first. To my extreme left over there is Professor Alexandra Mineva. She is one of our assistant professor at the Jindal School of International Affairs. Alexandra herself is from Russia, but she is also very good at Mandarin and also affiliated with our Chinese Study Center at Jindal. And then right beside Alexandra, we have Professor Deepak Mon. He is also assistant professor of practice at our International Institute of Higher Education, and he does some very interesting research on teacher learning. Teachers also learn, right, as they teach. So his research is on teacher learning in online virtual spaces. And then right beside me is Mrs. Meena Arora, counseling psychologist from Sanskriti School here in Delhi. Some of you might know her. And I have already introduced myself. Unfortunately, Ms. Abha Adams could not join us today because of some family emergency. She has apologized. She's also a noted education consultant and counselor. Some of you might know her. Beside me here to my right is Ms. Sakshi Mittal. She is doing some very interesting work with her organization, University Leap, and works with young people like you, coming from her own experience of transition from higher education to high school to higher education. She does a lot of work with young people like you and counsel them about how best they can discover what they are really good at and what they would like to do for higher education and future career. And to my extreme right over here is Dr. Suchitra Bhattacharya. She's the principal of GD Goenka Public School, and she's also very experienced educationist and has worked in many schools throughout her career. So welcome to all our panelists and welcome to all of you once again. I would first request our Professor Deepak Mon to read out. We wrote, actually this is something Professor Mon took lead in writing, a short concept note about interdisciplinary education in the 21st century. Why we are talking about it. Deepak.
Good evening, everyone. So, what we are talking about here is interdisciplinary education. How many of you are in grade 11 and 12?
Come on, raise your hands. Hi,
Okay, okay. And how many are in grade 10? None. Okay. So you would have chosen your discipline right now. So you are already part of, how many of you are part of PCM? Non-medical, medical, combined, PCMB, commerce, arts. Do you attend classes from other disciplines where you attend, say, you have taken arts, but you are attending physics classes? Anyone who does that? Is that a possibility? That possibility, does that exist in your school? Anyone's school that possibility exists? It does?
So it's
Psychology with humanities, but is that is part of humanities. So is anyone else allowed to take psychology?
yes, yeah, commerce people like children commerce are allowed to take it, and there's a psychology with the medical section.
Okay, okay. So that's the example of interdisciplinarity. At least you can clearly see that you are bound within your disciplines. The discipline being non-medical, so even within science, it's very strict that okay, you are going for a medical stream or a non-medical stream. But that's not how the real world operates. How would you explain a phenomena? Say, let's take example of a river. Where would that fit? A river would fit in the PCM stream, the PCB stream, the commerce stream, or the arts stream. Which, if you want to study a river, where would it fit? How many people would say that it's perfect for an arts curriculum or a humanities curriculum? Geography, okay. And commerce? No one. PCM, so non-medical? Non-medical, anyone? Medical? Medical would mean biology. Okay, let me just give you some perspective. So a river is a hydrological system, and you in 11th and 12th would have studied fluid mechanics. It's part of non-medical. A river is a living biological system. It is part of, to understand how fish or other sea animals or plantations, vegetation, it is all biology. Commerce. all the civilizations started alongside rivers, that's humanities, but all the commerce happened through rivers and sea. That's commerce, if you look at that angle. Have you ever thought about that part? So if you want to study a river system, you would, now recently there is a interlinkage of rivers. Anyone aware of that? Interlinkage of river, that kind of project is going on. And wherever it has happened, it has been a great disaster because it was designed by engineers who thought of it as a hydrological system but did not see that the fish that live in this system are actually very different kind of systems. So if you are connecting two rivers, and that has created havoc. If you start if you try to Google that part, the problems of interlinking of rivers, you will come across these issues. And then issues related to the people who are dependent on these rivers basically would fall into the social sciences, the commerce as well as the arts or humanities stream. So that is what the real world looks like. And what you are forced to study is within certain disciplines. That's what we are talking about. That's the context of this conversation. So I would just briefly read what I had written, and I have given you enough background to understand what I'm going to say. The Indian education system, both at the university and the school level, has taken a very rigid view of the disciplinary boundaries. Professor Mukherjee suggested that it's not just India, it's across the world, and recently there have been changes. While this may have worked in the past, the present era, dominated by global challenges including global warming, terrorism, overconsumption, global epidemics, etc., requires an integrative, interdisciplinary thinking. The real world problems, after all, are rarely contained within the disciplinary boundaries, and so are their solutions, as we have just discussed. For example, the reason why rivers are drying or getting polluted cannot be comprehended solely by application of frameworks from hydrology, which would be engineering, an in-depth understanding of communities that are dependent on these rivers and work to preserve them in the past. So basically a historical understanding and the social understanding is equally important. Social scientists therefore need to play a crucial role in defining this problem, as well as finding its solution alongside the hydrologist and the environmental scientist. Only truly interdisciplinary teaching and learning can provide a reasonably accurate, I am very specific about this part, a reasonably accurate understanding of the problem. I'm not saying that exact understanding of the problem and its solution, which rarely exists. A reasonably accurate understanding of the complex world that we live in. Consequently, interdisciplinary approaches to education in schools and universities are required. This requires changes in curriculum, pedagogies, which is basically the way we teach what is there in the curriculum, and the policies. Are these institutions, basically the schools and universities, the educators, people like us, and the education administrators, prepared for delivering such an education? That's what the theme of this session is. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepak. I will now throw this question as an open question to all our panelists, and one by one I would request them to share their thoughts about this topic and the question that Professor Mon has raised. Okay, so I will begin, though I began the introduction with Alexandra, but I want to begin this discussion with, Dr. Bhattacharya, who is sitting to my extreme right. Okay, over to her.
Good afternoon. That's a nice response. As a teacher, we always want a response from the opposite side. So that shows everyone is full of zeal and enthusiasm to know more about the discussion today. To start with, I will quote a portion of Tagore's writing. Rabindranath Tagore says, "When I see the universe through my songs, I know it. And it's only then I understand." Similarly, Julia Marshall, professor of San Francisco University, she says that when we choose art, or the focus of art is not on the focus on what color is chosen by the artist or the student. It is much beyond, and that is, I suppose, what we are discussing today. A child taking up the brush doesn't think of the color first. He thinks of so many other things, like it can be the river, which means geography. It can be a butterfly, which means life, biology. It can be cloud, again, to do something with the environment. So how is it linked? We cannot segment a particular subject only with that. It has to be linked. And that is what I think we are all heading for. It's wonderfully stated that these days there are many universities after schools where education, basically what you are heading for, they have such combinations which we did not think at our times. Because that is the need. And yes, of course, it is a little difficult for youngsters like you to convince your parents to move out of that traditional box, PCM or PCMB or commerce with maths, without maths, and nothing more beyond. That is there because of the CBSE curriculum, which is a little fixed, though we talk so big. But yes, there also I will comment on how things are changing. So we need to have a framework. So therefore, till school education, it is there segmented to what you're going to study, even though you did not like till 10th, maybe subject like Hindi, or maybe 11 and 12, whatever you did not like, you were forced to. But however, after school, I think there is a scope of so much more these days. That is interdisciplinary education, where it is combined. Say, for example, when a professor was talking about the river, if I talk of a disease, a medical student trying to think of a particular disease which is repeatedly coming in an area, the doctor is not going to restrict only on the medication. The doctor is going to think of the population, the sanitation, the environment, the culture, so many, the food habits. So it is linked, medicine is again linked with the environment, with the geographical condition of the people, and many more. That is interdisciplinary education. Yes, while since you have already crossed your schooling, yet me being very deeply associated with schools, I will comment that there are changes, no doubt. We've got many courses, oblique subjects which did not exist before. We have dance, we have local languages, we have arts, we have ITs. There are various number of subjects that we also offer in schools. However, I will not restrict to school education, we'll come beyond that. Basically, interdisciplinary education is to teach you more than one particular topic, to teach you about ethics, to teach you about moral values, to teach you about life skills, to teach you about how to adjust yourself to the atmosphere, to the group that you're going to interact. That is how education is linked, a particular subject is linked with so many more. And yes, universities are working, professors, teachers, the fraternity in the teaching faculties, they are working on how to make you global citizens, keeping in mind your values, moral values, as I said. And I think we are all prepared for it. This young generation is doing amazingly well. You are really have got so much of potentials. Only thing is, yes, you need to be a little more consistent. And I think you are prepared to make the world a better place to live in, right? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bhattacharya. I think we all have that hope for the young generation, and that's the reason we are trying to generate these dialogues and debates, so that you, even though, as ma'am rightly said, unfortunately, and it's not just in our country, in many countries around the world, the schooling systems are still based in disciplines and disciplinary silos. At the higher education level, a lot of interdisciplinary work has been happening, Here in India, our university is doing it, and then there are many other universities, new universities within India and abroad trying to do it. But lately, there has been a lot of conversation and discussions happening at the global level about making these changes happen also at the school level. There are many systems of schools around the world, not that many, but a few of them have already started doing it. We were discussing this already, both in Europe and also in Asia. But increasingly now they're talking about doing it in other countries also. Organizations like UNESCO, OECD, and other global organizations are having discussions with ministries in different countries around the world to rethink school curriculum, to have a more theme-based or topic-based or problem-based approach to learning. You will learn about math, you will learn about science, you will learn about humanities, you will learn about social science, but in a more integrated way, looking at a particular real life challenge or problem and thinking about how we can solve this problem. Because increasingly now, in every workplace, whether you work in a corporate sector or you do a job with the government or you do work with the non-governmental sector or you become an entrepreneur yourself, critical thinking and problem solving, these are the two key components that you need to develop. And this kind of skills can only develop through a more interdisciplinary approach to teaching and learning. So we are trying to share this with you all so that you start thinking in a different way, so that when you make the transition from your high school to higher education and you're getting exposed to this kind of curriculum at the higher education level, so that you can approach that curriculum with a more open mind. And that is going to, often when we feel scared about something, we face learning blocks. Okay, often we come across students first year in our university who come from this very strict, rigid disciplinary background, and then they suddenly feel quite overwhelmed because we have some core courses and we have a lot of elective courses which are built in a, designed in a very interdisciplinary mode, and they feel kind of overwhelmed because they have not been taught to think about subjects in that way at the high school level. Anyway, I'm not going to talk any further now. I'm going to request our next panelist, Sakshi Mittal, to share about her own transition from high school to higher education before we move over to the other panelists.
Hi, good evening, everyone. All right, so just to throw light more on what my colleagues just spoke about, I would like to emphasize on primarily two things related to this topic. One is, why is it so important in today's time to actually have an interdisciplinary education? Second, which I'm sure this question must be popping to all of you that we're discussing it, but how can it actually help us? So talking about the first aspect, why is it so important? Recent research has shown that the major problem that our college graduates are facing, it's not unemployment, but it's unemployability, which means that we are graduating out of colleges, but still we are not able to get the jobs. Now, what's the reason for that? Because there is a huge gap between what skills the companies, the MNCs, any top organizations today are demanding and what our traditional education is providing you. Some of the courses are probably as old as when your parents were studying, and today we know the world has completely changed. Now for all of you who are soon going to be entering the education system, the higher education system, that's your bachelor's degree. So you have to keep in mind that you are preparing yourselves for the jobs for the next 30 years, right? It's not just for the next 1 or 2 years. And as we know today that with the age of automation, with artificial intelligence, jobs are changing every 5 years. And a recent research also shows that most of us would be changing about 10 professions in our whole lifetime. So now a fixed and a rigid curriculum would only prepare you to be a specialist in one thing. Now what a liberal arts education or an interdisciplinary education can do for you is give you a lot of skills like critical thinking, team building, how to think out of the box, team building skills, how to communicate, which are the major skills that are required by any company today. So if, I don't know how many of you know, major companies like Apple, Google, Twitter, today have said that they don't actually need you to have any college degree in terms of recruiting you for an engineering position or an IT position. But what they really need out of you is to be very creative, to be really smart, the ability to think, to innovate, to adapt. So that is what an interdisciplinary education actually provides you. And top business men and women have come out and said that in the next 10 years, interdisciplinary education and the graduates are going to be the ones who are going to be most in demand. Why? Because an automated robot can today write a computer program, for example. The machineries can do all the work. But what really would count in the future is the human touch. Basically the ability to think from you, the original ideas that are there, to innovate. So that's what a liberal education actually provides you. Now to throw some light on the second part of it, that how it can benefit you, and this is somewhat my story that is connected to it, is also that at the age of 18, right after class 12, now most of you would be asked to probably commit to one particular major, that major or the specialization as we call it here, to commit to that when you're not even sure about it. Somebody would say now, next 4 years you will be studying only engineering, or the next 4 years you're going to be only doing English literature. And I, as being a graduate a few years back, understand that how difficult it is. First of all, it's difficult because of course we are not decided. Our school curriculum only exposes us to very little part of these subjects, so we're not able to decide as to what we do. Second, I would say we all are really smart. By that I mean that we don't have a single interest. What if I want to do journalism as well as be a part of a business environment? What I want to become a psychologist, but I also probably imagine working in an MNC. Then why are you putting me in a education that's only restricting me to studying one thing? When we all have multiple talents, why not just brush up on it and do multiple things? In fact, the nature of jobs today itself is multiple. You do any job, whether you're a teacher, whether you're a psychologist, an engineer, it would never require you to do one thing. Basic skills like social media today, social media marketing, communication skills, writing well, public speaking, these are something which are no longer specialized skills. These are general skills which every profession needs. For example, you're a doctor and you're wanting to open your own practice. An interdisciplinary education would allow you to probably study law at the, along with your, say medical, okay, and tomorrow, you get into so many legal compliances. That's what it helps you with. If you're planning to become a psychologist, in an interdisciplinary education, you can study a business degree along with it, which was my story, which is what I did. So it actually allows me to, open up my own practice and run a business. Otherwise, we have graduates who are just specialized in a psychology degree, but don't even know how to, actually run their own businesses. So that's where, it really helps you with. So when I entered college, I had, made up my mind. So I picked up a major in both advertising as well as psychology. I had made up my mind that, I would get into the advertising industry, work for, magazines and everything. But now through the 3 years of my college, because an interdisciplinary education allowed me to, expose myself to a variety of other things, I realized that, I no longer have an interest in advertising. The curriculum allowed me to, pursue some internships, to, work with other majors, speak to a lot of students, which eventually, got my interest in the field of education and in the field of psychology, and here I am today. So I understand very well that at a mere age of 18, when you've not even, explored anything, it's quite difficult for you to actually, commit yourself to one major. So that's where, it's a lovely opportunity for you all to, explore with such a major. So I think I'll just end it with that, and I can assure that an interdisciplinary education could be an eye opener for you, as well as get you a lot of skills that are actually needed in the market today.
Thank you, Sakshi. That was wonderful.
I think sharing your own personal experience and struggles is useful, I think, very useful, hopefully for the students to be able to think about their own future. I'll now move on to Mrs. Meenu Arora from Sanskriti School to share her thoughts. Ms. Arora.
Waiting for me to start? Huh? I wanted to see that smile on your face, that's why I waited. Because you have listened a lot to 3 speakers. So now let me ask you, before I can have 30 seconds for that. Let me ask you that after listening to these 3 speakers, how many of you are clear about what is interdisciplinary approach?
Ma'am, basically here we're talking about how our this new era of different companies and different specialization which is coming on is basically difficult for a new age. Thank you. Because we are like our education system was based on industrialization. The era of industrialization basically was like we have to have a major in engineering or in like have a doctorate or something, because at that time we needed engineers to establish industries and we needed architects to start up business. And now that we are in a new age today, we need something else which is new, which is not confined to one thing and to understand every single aspect of the problem.
Okay. I agree to you to some extent, because with the change in the demands of the situation, we also change. But if I look at the Gurukul system in the past, in the ancient era, when Ramayana and Mahabharata were written, when kids were sent to Gurukul, did they study only the use of the weapons and have to be a king? No? What did they learn? They learned to cook, they learned to work in a team, they learned to go to the forest and learn the physical skills, the physical exercise. They learned the problem solving skills, they learned creativity, they learned how to respect elders, they learned to communicate. And when we are talking about industrial age 4 or the 4th industrial age, we are looking again at 4 C's. Which is creativity, collaborative learning, communication, and critical thinking. So we are back to pavilion. Isn't it funny? Like we are back to pavilion, we are again looking at those 4 skills, right? And you don't need to go so far, forget about the demands of the situation. Just look at your own self. You're a human being, right? Human being, we used to study human being is a social being, right? We study biology, we study human being. We study history. You are a product of history, isn't it? If you are independent today, in independent India, you're a product of history. You're a product of geography. If you're wearing particular kind of clothes here, because of the geography, right? If you have taken a particular mode of transport to come to this center, it is a product of geography. The kind of employment you will be getting, product of geography. You cannot look for any agricultural land here. You will not find it, at least in South Delhi, right? So you as a person, you yourself is a cluster of everything. You yourself are interdisciplinary, right? So when you yourself are interdisciplinary, you have to learn interdisciplinary. But interdisciplinary approach, which we are talking so much, is not only having different buckets at the same place. It's not studying history, geography, physics and chemistry together, but it's integrating them, right? So it's not that, in my school, even in my school we have liberal arts. We have all the options you can think of, starting from fashion studies, home science, history, sociology, everything. But if you are studying them as different compartments, it is not interdisciplinary. Interdisciplinary doesn't need to be introduced at the undergrad or the postgrad level. It has to be introduced from class nursery. Like sir gave a very beautiful example. In fact, when I was coming here, I was thinking of an example. I thought of river only, and then I was thinking, oh, Deepak sir has already talked about river, so let me think of some other example, right? So even when we start in the primary school teaching river only, right? So where do we stop? We stop at showing a river maybe, or maybe in India, in the northern India, these are the rivers, and we stop there. We don't, as teachers, we don't entertain questions after a certain limit. We say, ये बड़ी class में पढ़ेंगे, आपके syllabus में सिर्फ इतना है. Because we don't want to jump, because मुझे और भी topics complete करने हैं. So why can't we teach river at the primary school level till the pollution of river? Why can't we talk about pollution of river to class 1 child? So actually when we are talking about interdisciplinary, it has to be talked about from all angles, right? And again, if I come back to the system, because I always talk about it, that what can you do if the system doesn't provide? All thanks to OB Jindal University that they provide interdisciplinary approach, but what about the school level? So that means I'm being given an opportunity, because I always believe that if we start digging out the excuses, we will be full of excuses. So let's think that what can we do with the resources which are available with us. So the resources are that I am being given an opportunity to learn. So do I know how to learn? It's very important that, learning to learn. I always say learning to learn is very, very important. So all subjects are there. So am I a self-learner? Okay. In school I have 8 periods. I will study certain subjects. I'm talking about very practical skills. Of course, at the theory level we can talk about various kinds of researches and all, but at the practical level, what can you do as a student? As a student, you can do your own research. You can promote self-learning. Today we talk about we are all lifelong learners. Lifelong learners, you can be lifelong learners only if you have self-learning, right? So it's not only having different subjects in front of you, but how to integrate while studying. So don't stop yourself. Don't stop your curiosity. Be inquisitive. Try to find out what else is there. Okay, and every field is connected. Like I was just thinking yesterday only, one of my close uncle, he had to undergo bypass, right? So he was admitted to a particular hospital, I cannot name it. So they said that the surgery will be done on Wednesday. This is just yesterday's example I'm giving you. So we thought that 3 days in a private hospital is going to be very expensive. So let's discharge him and let's come back home and let's go again on Tuesday, and Wednesday surgery can be performed. But the hospital and the doctor didn't like the idea. So we were forced to stay there. And the moment it happened, the patient started feeling uncomfortable. He said, "Ye to doctor acha nahi hai. I don't have faith in this doctor and this hospital." So we moved out of that hospital. Now we have shifted him to some other hospital which is very far off. But as soon as my uncle met him, he said, "हाँ, ये ठीक है. ये ठीक है." इसने आराम से बैठ के मेरे से बात किया, and he has asked me how am I feeling and all that, and he has given me full assurance that whatever tests were done in the other hospital, I will not do the test again. Now it's a very day-to-day example. Now do you see interdisciplinary approach here? That doctor who had a medical degree, who was known for his bypass surgery, that's why we landed up there, did not have social skills, did not know human psychology, how to deal with the patient who is critical. And the patient lost all the faith, and we moved. Although he had full faith and we knew the background of the doctor, but we moved from there because he did not like the doctor. right? So you as a person, again as ma'am said, people are not looking for degrees now. You need to have a skill set. Infosys last year appointed 3,000 people from humanity background. They said we don't need people from computer sciences, right? And always keep it in mind that you simply cannot say that I'm a humanities student, I don't need to study science. I am a counselor, I'm a counseling psychologist, okay? But if I don't know how to make a PowerPoint presentation, I can't conduct workshops, right? And if I can't do online counseling, I'm gone. If I don't know how to Google and research, I'm gone, right? So for any field for that matter, you need to have a skill set, right? And for that, and one more thing I always tell, and I will end up with that in the school, we teach students how to be competitive, you know? इस कॉम्पिटिटिव एग्जाम में उसका इतना परसेंटेज, उसका उतना परसेंटेज, मैम उसको 3 मार्क कम दिया, मुझे 4 मार्क कम दिया. You know, we are all competing. We start teaching kids from nursery. But I tell you, the most important skill which we'll be needing in tomorrow's world is collaborative learning. And it's very difficult to change the perspective from being into competitive world to collaborative work. And the moment you start competing in an organization, you're out. Because now MNCs or any profession, they openly say that the work which can be done by a robot or AI, we don't need you. We need you only where you as a human being can work. And that again comes back to 4 C's. Critical, creative, communication and collaboration. Right? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Very, very well said. And this is absolutely wonderfully summed up. This 4 C's, critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, and communication. These 4 C's are critical for any profession, any job in the 21st century. And this is because these are things which machines can't do as of now. Artificial intelligence, machine learning, however they might have progressed so far, but this is something for which you need, as ma'am wonderfully said, human touch. And increasingly now, that's why in the schooling sector, which has been historically very based on academic learning and competition around the world, not just in India, they're increasingly talking about social and emotional learning. Some of you might be knowing about this organization called UNESCO Mahatma Gandhi Institute of Peace, based here in Delhi. They are actually also trying to do a lot of work with different schools, young people, schools and school principals and counselors and young people here in India, particularly to promote social and emotional learning in schools, along with academic learning, which we all know associate schooling with. But increasingly there is huge amount of research to show that those who are high on social and emotional learning, they are the ones who are actually doing very well in the real world. You might be an academic real nerd, but if you don't have social and emotional skills, which is becoming increasingly important in the workplace, you might not be able to go that far because of the changing nature of workplace in the 21st century and the kind of skills that are needed in the workplace in the 21st century. Okay, so I will now move on to our Professor Deepak Mon from Opajindal University to share his thoughts. He has already shared a bit, but a bit more we would like to hear, particularly about the question, are we ready for it? If you can address that question, please.
Good evening again. So the students here in the classroom, can you raise both of your hands? It's not punishment, but it's both of your hands. So those of you who are like already tired of studying, okay, school khatam ho and then we'll be in college and it will be fun. put your hands down. So majority. We just have few exceptions. I think your hands started aching. So, but those would be exceptions. Like, did you see around the room? Almost everyone is tired of studies already. And when you go to college, what the panelists are saying, you need to learn way more than what you are doing right now. And you need to learn way more than what actually the college will teach you. Because right now, as Moshmi said, that you need to address this question. Barring few universities in India or even abroad, not everyone provides you this opportunity of creating this kind of interdisciplinary learning. Then the question comes, so Sakshi talked about it, that how can interdisciplinary learning benefit you? She has talked about it. Then Minu talked about what can you do if the system does not provide you the opportunity, which is actually the case. The system does not provide you the opportunity, then where does the onus lie of this interdisciplinary learning and how do you access that? How many of you have done any projects in school? Like not just the physics lab or the projects where you do scrapbook and all that. Actual real projects where you have went out in the field and done something, tried to solve some real world problem. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not a majority. So
Can I ask one more question? How many of you have got your projects done from outside?
you can be honest.
Be honest. Right? So you better ready because now you will not get anybody who is going to do projects for you. You have to do it.
No.
Otherwise the whole approach is gone.
You actually can get it done. There are people, see, it all depends. So there are companies set up on this thing that we will do the projects for you, you pay us the money. The idea is not that you cannot get it done or you should get it done. I'm not going into the ethics of it. I'm just saying that the learning that you get out of that, you won't get any learning out of that. That's it. That's as simple as it.
Students have learned about the outsourcing industry very early in their life.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the problem is that if you're in a workplace, you can't outsource that job. If you have to do that project, means you will have to do that project, and your supervisors are going to monitor what you're doing. And if you try to outsource your job, they might outsource you out of the company.
Okay, so to continue, who has this responsibility to provide you this interdisciplinary learning? Ideally, the institutions that you go to. Now, you will end up in institutions which may be, say, for a PCM student, be engineering, say IITs or NITs or any other engineering college. For people who are in, say, arts, may end up in a good college in Delhi University or any of the private universities, including OPG. So there are very few universities where you will get this opportunity to engage in interdisciplinary learning. Then the onus actually is on your shoulders. And how do you do that? Has anyone heard of a gap year? Gap year? What's that? Could you just...
Gap year is basically when people are like, when they're freshly out of 12, they take a gap year. They want to know what they're into, explore different options, and or study for the entrance like PCM students.
That would not be a gap. So technically, yeah. So gap year is one. Yeah. So now technically, when you say drop versus gap, there is a huge difference. When you are dropping a year, you are focused on what you said about preparing for an engineering exam. No, gap year is actually to explore, and it's a very well utilized concept in countries in the Western world, where we see okay, एक साल बर्बाद हो जाएगा. That's the thinking in India. In the Western world, it's like you're basing your decision of a lifetime. Then take time of 1 year. That will be well utilized. That's one opportunity.
It's a soul searching.
It's researching, and more than researching, it's searching yourself,
Yes.
searching your interests. So that is one opportunity where you can take onus of your own learning, try to move around the country. That requires a lot of responsibility from your part as well as a lot of trust from your parents' part. Second is taking internships. How many of you have done any kind of internship till now? Again, not a majority. In fact, a very few people have done that. Now, these internship opportunities, paid or unpaid, it doesn't matter. But they can provide you a good option of seeing what the real world looks like. Within the school boundaries, it is very difficult to see because you can always sleep in the class, have fun, but in real life, when you go for internships, that kind of opportunity does not exist. Has anyone tried any of the competitions, global level competitions that are held? Say Google asking for entries for solving real world problems, or Microsoft organizing something, UN organizing something. So there are competitions, yeah. So there are competitions which you can be part of. Now it does not matter whether you are a student of humanities or commerce or anything. You can work on a real life problem and try to find a solution to that, and that gives you exposure not just to in fact it gives an opportunity to explore yourself, ask questions. What are you trying to solve? Till now, most of the times either the questions are asked by the teachers that describe this, define this, solve this. When you get into a situation like that, you actually need to ask a question which is more critical than actually finding the answer, because asking the right question is really difficult. Asking the questions in examination is actually easier because you can always pick up the question bank and ask. Real life problems do not exist in that way. So using open resources that are available, have you seen do-it-yourself videos? You have seen that? you can build things with your own hands. You can try to build things with your own hands. Do you know that there are workshops happening in Delhi? Anyone heard of Makers Asylum? Makers Asylum? So yeah, so they conduct workshops which give you hands-on training, and you can actually work with tools and shape things. So these are the opportunities that exist around you. Who is responsible for that? The university that you join will not provide you these opportunities. May not. They may, but they may not. But despite that, you have this option of utilizing these opportunities. Collaborating with people from other universities, you have a network. You can expand that, find people who are working in this area, ask a professor who is working in this particular area, or go to a startup which works in an area that you find, okay, this is interesting, write to them. Maybe you will get a response from them, and you get an opportunity to work for them on certain problem that you right now think that it is interesting. So these are the opportunities that exist, which probably did not exist 15 years back, or at least 10 years back, 5 years back, or our generation did not utilize it. From the responses that I see, even your generation is not utilizing it. The opportunities do exist. How do you utilize them? And once you enter these, start utilizing, you will realize this interdisciplinarity that we are talking about. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepak. I would just like to share right now, and this is a project of UNESCO MGIEP actually. They're collecting stories, and these stories will be actually published as a book by Palgrave. And they were a group of girls from Delhi schools who developed an app to monitor air pollution in Delhi. So just look out for them. We are trying to bring them to our university to speak with the students over the summer. But these kind of opportunities are happening, and this is a project that the UN has launched as part of a global project for young people, high school to college students, particularly to think about innovative solutions for global problems. skills and global challenges. And I recently came to know from Mahatma Gandhi Institute of Peace that a group of girls from Delhi schools, sorry I can't tell you their names of schools right now, 5 of them, they have come up and developed this app to monitor air pollution in Delhi. So I just wanted to share this since Professor Mon raised this issue, and this is something you will need to. Now there is a UNESCO chair in lifelong learning based at the Education University in Hong Kong, which is the #2 university in whole of Asia. So increasingly they are talking about, Minu Arora also mentioned this entire concept of lifelong learning, and as Sakshi was saying, that that generation where our parents or our grandparents had one particular job and they entered the job after college or university and worked there till they retired, that political economy, that concept that society is changing. Many of you who are here in this room, you will have to have multiple jobs and multiple careers throughout your entire life because of the changing nature of work and workplace. This is already happening in many Western, more economically developed countries, but increasingly this is going to happen in India too because of the advances that is happening right now with robotics, artificial intelligence, and the Industry 4.0 revolution. But a lot of people are scared when I speak with parents and even teachers and educators. They think that because of this, jobs are increasingly going to get less and less. But that kind of fear is also quite unfounded, because just as these developments are happening, it's also bringing in new opportunities for work. The only thing is that we need to start to think about education and our knowledge and skills in a different way, as we are discussing today here in this panel. And we have to think in terms of learning, unlearning, and relearning. UNESCO MGIP also had a workshop a few months ago on unlearning, okay? Which is quite an interesting new concept being talked about in the education sector. So in order to be a lifelong learner, you might need to unlearn some older things that you have learned in order to learn it in a new way. Guess what? Even some of the top scientists around the world, often when they have discovered something new through the process of their research, they have unlearned and they have said, okay, this is what I thought based on my earlier research, but I don't think this is right. My findings are telling me now this is probably what the inference that I drew before was not correct. Some of the top scientists, Nobel laureates, even they can unlearn and relearn, drawing on evidence from their research. Why can't we unlearn and relearn new things? Okay, so with this thought, I'm going to hand over to a professor from Russia, Alexandra Maneva.
Thank you very much. May I stand up, because I'm a teacher, you know, it's a teacher syndrome. When you sit, you can't teach, you can't speak. So thank you very much for all the presentations, and I have very little to add because it was very comprehensive. However, there are a couple of things I am concerned about that we may have put in your mind. Who have an impression now, after everything you've heard, that now to succeed, you actually have to study more? Who have now, to succeed in the new environment of interdisciplinary studies, to succeed, you have to study more. So if you studied only medicine, now you also have to study literature. Who have this impression? Who have an impression that you will have to study less? And you're right. And by study less, I mean that study which you said, you know, that you, Um, thank you very much to Dr. Minu for mentioning that interdisciplinary is not a new concept at all. Actually, specialization is a new concept which was exercised to take as much as possible from the uneducated people to make them work for the elites in order to fill the gaps, right? But for the history, for 2000 years, if you think of ancient China literally, right, Confucians, if you think of India, the gurus, the Brahmins, even all the elite, if you think of a merchant in any country, if we think of druids and if we think of architects, if we think of all the elitarian strata, they were all cross-disciplinary educated, with the big difference that now education is available to absolutely everyone. Then, with the industrialization, huge amount of labor was necessary. And education for uneducated became necessary as well. Was it really in the interest of the uneducated? To some extent, yes, because by getting education, you can get a job in the factory and provide somehow for the family. However, the person who is on the top of the factory is the person who understands the engineering process, maybe not in details, but understand the process, who understands the marketing, who understands management and PR, and he needs the people who would replace him in certain positions but don't know too much, right? Because if he knows everything, he replaces you. But you just need a hand, an extra hand to do mixing job, right? So now I'm asking you, do you want to be a head or you want to be a mixing hand? Right? For this to be a head, it is several aspects are very important. First, is important to understand the system you are placed in. What is the system? The system is everything. Your classroom is a system, your college is a system, your family is a system. Maybe your mother is not working and staying at home. You don't consider her professional, or your grandmother. But every day you come home, your food is excellent. She has made, her maid is perfect. Everyone is jealous. How come her maid is so perfect? Your father always look quite happy and well dressed. Your younger brother is never crying, is always happy. How does she do it? You may ask her one question, she will not able to answer it. But observe, how does she do it? She is only able to do it because she understands how her system works. You come to your friend's house, your brother is crying, your mom is shouting that you're not good at school, father is angry because he's stressed at work, something is burning, and nothing just go right. So do you now understand that being at home is also a type of profession where you do have to understand the system? So your cross-disciplinary or interdisciplinary education starts with understanding that you're inside of a system and trying to see how does the system work. Then looking for an example of a person who is able to make the system work and observe how it happens. When you are able to do so, you find out that you certainly are able to do the same thing, but you lack this skill and that skill. You go and learn this and that. Not everything. However, most of us, not most of you, most of us still in our late 20s, early 30s, early 50s are kind of lost. And the reason for it is still that education, which is catering for the factories with limited necessity, right? With limited necessity for the skills. So when we are going to school, we have science and humanities. So basically, two types of intelligence, numerical and verbal. If you are known, you feel like an outsider all the time. You do your best, you may be even successful because you spend all your time studies, you are semi-depressed, but you are not on the top of your ability. You see your friend not doing half of the job you do at school and so good, and you're not. What do you think? I'm stupid, I'm loser, I'm not good enough, I'm not talented, etc. But you're not aware that just according to one classification, which is of 1983, it's probably have developed since then, there are 8 types of intelligence. Our education is targeting only 2 types of intelligence. If you are none of those 2, you feel as an outsider. You feel disinterested, you feel like you are doing something wrong, or even worse, you are born somehow wrong, right? So interdisciplinary education allows you to explore and allows you to see what you can do well. Because at the end of the days, I would really beg you, if I could, to not put yourself this glass ceiling of looking for a job. Time changes. Now you can create a job. Now in your 17, you can already create a job for yourself, and you can create a job for people around you. If you know who you are, focus on that. Discover who you are. And start your interdisciplinary education, not from quitting your major, which you are doing in college, and after this talk saying to your parents, no, I now want to do interdisciplinary. No, by exploring around. Just by having this and the internet connection, you can learn how to play guitar, you can learn how to cook, you can learn how to... I forgot my office locker key on Friday, and I had exam papers there, and I needed to tell students the results, and I was like, I can't go home for the key. I YouTube how to, how to do it with a bobby pin. I can YouTube and learn the skill. How to open a lock with a bobby pin. Right? You can learn literally everything with just as much investment as in smartphone and internet connection in mall, free internet connection, right? So I really beg you, don't limit your thinking to the idea that you will have to look for a job. You will have to succeed, you will have to fulfill yourself. You will have to find who you are, what you want, and what you're good at doing. And then, if you're good in both mathematics and talking to the dogs, the cross-disciplinary approach, interdisciplinary approach, would help you to find out what to do with it. So it's the whole subject itself. You come to school and you learn interdisciplinary, which helps you to understand how to combine your superpower number 1 and your backup superpower in something that is unique and will help you to succeed in life. Don't fall into this trap created by people who want to exploit you. Don't read these motivational quotes that when you're sleeping there, learning there, if you don't sleep and learn more, you will arrive there faster. Sleep. Have all the sleep you need. Find out, then after you had enough sleep, have enough good food, talk enough to your mom and dad and your younger, elder brothers and sisters, and happily go to learn what you love. And if something is not happening, do it like, if you bought this project, means you were not into this project. And on one hand, as a teacher, I should say no, and I'm saying no to outsourcing these kind of skills, but I'm saying yes to minimizing your energy expenses on something you're bad at. Because by putting your energy in something which you are not too good, you know how it works. Your teacher say, your literature is good, but your mathematics is not that good. If you put more effort in mathematics, by the end of the term, you have a good grade. You have A for both, right? Then you abandon literature. You do mathematics, you don't really like mathematics. At the end of semester, you have 2 A's, but you are mediocre. You won't win literature competition because you abandoned it, and you won't win mathematics because it's not your talent. Put less energy in what you don't like and what you are not good at, but focus on what you love, even if it seems completely irrelevant to the job market. Job market is very tough right now. If any of your parents is doing business, especially small business, you know how much does it cost to hire one person. you just need help in doing one thing, or you just need to open a company. Actually, you are good as you are, but you need to open a company. The condition, you have to hire a person. Your revenue is not enough yet to hire a person. So what do you want from this person? You actually want to work as much as possible for as less money as possible. Do you want to be that person? I beg, please don't want to be that person. So to conclude, I would like to repeat that to succeed, you have to know who you are, you have to know what you want, and you have to know what you're good at, and focus on that. And as time comes, you know, this puzzle will come together in a beautiful picture. And even if you like both dog care and computer science, do both, and you will find out what to do with it, I promise. If you don't, I bet 1,000 rupee today. If you do what you love, and in 5 years you have no success, I give you the 1,000 rupee.
I would like to add one thing what Alexandra has said. Always remember there is a difference between a job and a career. Okay? Many times when parents and students come to me as a career counselor, so they say that, ma'am, किस में job available है वो बता दो, वही course करना है. But always remember, today is the world of uncertainty and unpredictability. If I say that you do computer science, IT का बहुत demand आने वाला है, I will be lying. Nobody can predict. Okay? Job you will get. Somewhere or the other, job you will get. What is a job? When you do some activity and you get money. Career is what is your uniqueness and individuality, what Alexandra was talking about. So find your passion, you will create a job for yourself. 15 years back, 20 years back, nobody thought of that a person who is good in gossiping can also get a job. Yeah? You know, if you can crack jokes, there is a huge career line for you. Right? So don't think about a job which will give you good amount of money 10 years down the line. 3 years or 4 years of bachelor's, wherever, in whichever country you are doing, then post-grad, then some training internship. So 7-8 years are there. In 7-8 years, world is going to change, and world is changing very fast. If you don't change, if you're not flexible, if you don't have plan B with you, you will feel a lot of frustrations. So don't be rigid when you are planning your career. So, you know, I always say, we design so many things. In order to come here, you must have thought about 10 times, कौन सी dress डालें, कौन सी नहीं डालें, वहाँ क्या होगा, क्या नहीं होगा, कैसे जाएं. Design your life. So many years are there. Design your life. Okay?
Thank you very much, and this reminds me, I came to know about, and Alexandra just mentioning dogs and computers, and I'm just returning from a city which is famous for you know, all these Silicon Valley young people, they live there, and also for dogs. And I came to know over there for the first time, this is new learning for me, the most highest paid job in the city, apart from the Silicon Valley men and women, is professional dog carers. And I came across several professional dog carers on the city of San Francisco with dogs on leash. Okay, so I was told that there are more dogs on the streets of San Francisco than young people, than little children, because all the Silicon Valley people, they live over there and it's too expensive for those with families to live there. All young, rich, single people live there with their dogs, and when they go to Google and Facebook and all these other companies to work during the day, they give their dogs to these dog carers. So dog caring has become the next most highest paid job in San Francisco. So you can earn as much as $600 to $1,000 per day as a dog carer. per dog. So that's a new information I got myself.
So the so the end point is, I think we have all got it. Be sincere to yourself. What exactly you need to do is know what you want and do it with sincerity. There's lack of sincerity in this generation. You just go in a superficial area and then jump onto the next. There's no harm in exploring, but explore when you want, not because you dislike something. So before you plunge into it, think, do a little bit of research, and sincerity is something which has to be there. Without that, you will not succeed in anything. There are innumerable number of opportunities, as she just mentioned. You can't think of looking after a dog and earning. Whatever it is, self-respect, self-esteem, and sincerity. I think you can win the world. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes.
So last three ideas from my side. Number one, now that you are going to college, you would already know after 2 years of your stream, do you like it or not? And if you don't like it, don't get stuck in the stream for next 3 years, 5 years, or whatever time. Change that. Second, whatever you choose next, will you like it or will that be right for you? You can't tell right now, but be flexible enough to create capabilities so that you are not just bounded by that stream. How do you do that? I'll give you 2-3 examples and close with that. A friend of mine who was forced by his family to take engineering because he was good at mathematics, wanted to be wanted to take medical, but he was a boy, so it was more engineering. Went to IIT Bombay, did mechanical engineering. He found a way. He worked with a biomedical company that designed the knee replacement parts, and for that he utilized physics because there is forces and there is pressure and everything, the material of the knee. So he found a way where he could actually get into the medical field despite having an engineering degree. I met a statistician who, after getting bored with statistics, actually said that I want to get into law, and utilized 3D spatial mathematics to deal with cases in United States where you cannot put a person on death row if that person is mentally unstable, or you can prove that this person was born with some genetic malfunctioning. He utilized this statistical knowledge, worked on biology, and proved I think there were 17 cases like that where in 8 he was successful in proving that these people, based on their structure of their brain, had some deformity at birth. Now a person in statistics working at the crossroads of biology and law. So these options are available, just you need to be flexible and you need to have that zeal to work on yourself outside whatever the institute offers you. Thank you.
Anything else, Sakshi? Any last thoughts you would like to add before I wrap up?
Yeah, so I also just think, like my colleague said, that go after your calling. I think we've all been hearing that for a very long time now. Yeah, so believe us that it might sound boring to you right now, but we're all sharing this with you because we've all been in your shoes, and we know that how important is this decision for you. So yes, just go after what you like, be flexible, and you will make it big.
Thank you, Sakshi. I'll throw this floor open for you all to ask any question to the entire panel. But I just wanted to sum up what we have discussed a little bit quickly. The reason why we are focusing and talking about interdisciplinary education, not just here, as I said, it's being talked about now globally, is because of the changing nature of work. And as Minu Arora just shared, it's impossible for anybody to say what the workplace is going to look like 5 years or 10 years down the road. The way at which changes are happening because of Industry 4.0 and the kind of innovations that is coming up. But that does not mean there won't be jobs. but then there might be different kind of jobs, even jobs that don't exist right now. Now, how can you get prepared to do those kind of jobs the 5 years or 10 years down the roads, which might not exist right now? So in order to prepare future citizens of this world, young people like you, to do those kind of jobs, that's the reason educators and education specialists around the world now are talking more and more in terms of interdisciplinary education, which can really help you to gain all those transferable skills, as they call, the 4 C's that ma'am mentioned. They're all transferable skills which you can apply in any job that you might do in the future. And as many of our panelists already highlighted, if you really take the time to understand what you can do actually the best. Last year we had a student who came to us for summer school. He comes from a business family, but he's really passionate about photography. Okay, and even though he's in school right now, class 10, but he owns a professional camera like some of our camera people over here, and really does brilliant photography. In fact, he has taken some of the best photographs of our own campus. So we decided to do a photography exhibition of the photographs he took at our campus while he was there for 2 weeks during the summer school. And after, initially when his parents were calling me, the mother was telling me, my son is literally torn, ma'am, my son is feeling torn apart. Because, we come from a business family, and of course, I hope you understand, he's the only son. Everybody in the family wants him to be in the family business. But at the same time, he has this passion, and I, as a mother, I really want to encourage him. So I really hope that you give him the opportunity so that he can explore both options. So at the end of it, he said, well, I never thought that I can merge my passion of photography and business together. Here is a similar kind of thing that Sakshi just mentioned. You could never think in the traditional disciplinary silo, if you study in that way, that you can merge training and education in psychology with business, right? So both the student and the parents, they came up with a very happy solution at the end of the summer school, that okay, he doesn't need to choose whether he is going to do photography or business. He can do both and really excel. Okay, so this is the kind of thinking we would really like to encourage all of you, both the students and the parents, to think about. And eventually, in the long run, it's going to help you only to excel and succeed in whatever you do. Now, I would really like to throw this floor open to all of you to ask questions, and the panelists will be happy to receive questions from you. We can have 10 minutes. We have 10 minutes in hand for you to ask questions.
That question is still pending. Are we actually ready for it?
The question is still pending. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I think I did say that don't wait for anybody. Don't wait for the education system to change. When we are discussing these are the demands of the future, you be ready and you be a self-learner and start working on it. Right? Don't wait for any teacher to have that kind of subject period in your class who will teach you what is interdisciplinary or what are the 4 C's. If you have learned even if you have one takeaway today, start working on it today onwards. Be a self-learner. Right? So if you're a self-learner, you're always ready for future.
And I think when I said that, on whose shoulders is this onus So that's exactly the same thing. Even if the institutions are not ready, if you join an IIT which does not provide you this facility, or a Delhi University college which does not provide you this facility, doesn't matter. There is life outside boundaries of this institution that you have full control of.
Education, if you think about education in that way, education is not only what you are learning in the classroom, right? There's a very famous philosopher of education, American philosopher of education, John Dewey. He said that education is life itself. And you find similar kind of things about education being told by our own education philosopher. Ma'am mentioned Tagore at the beginning of this panel, Dr. Bhattacharya. There's similar kind of things about education Tagore has mentioned. And Alexandra over here gave a wonderful example about the schooling system initially designed almost in the model of a factory. Guess what? This is something Tagore also said within the Indian context over 100 years ago. Now, Tagore did not have either a school degree or a college degree, but he had a Nobel Prize for Literature. All of you must be knowing that, right? So there might be many Tagores or many other talents among many of you in this room today. So explore it. Education is not just about what you're learning in your particular school or educational institution or inside those little factory units in which unfortunately we are still, most of the mainstream system around the world are still working in that factory model. Okay? So explore beyond the walls of those factories.
So the question, are we ready for it? On one hand, are we ready to offer you the interdisciplinary education? The other question, are you ready for that, right? And as you know, always teacher and parent is a little bit slower than a child and a student in the way we see the world, in the way we want things to be done. And the very important thing is the communication. If you are ready, but the system created by us, older generation, resists, you have to manifest. You have to say, I am ready. You have to say, Dad, I want to do both business and photography. You have to be ready not to feel afraid of your passions and of your interest. You have to be ready to say, ma'am, I know when a teacher scrolls you for having B for physics, I know I do my best for physics, but my best of physics is B. Because my best for, arts and sports is A+. You have to be ready to manifest what you are ready for. And then we will adjust ourselves.
More questions? Yes.
I was told when I had to take 11th, I had to take up streams, I was told that I have to either take up commerce or have sociology. And at that time, 10 relatives of mine were contacted because they my parents wanted to know what would be better. And right now, and they were like, okay, you don't have to take psychology, you should take sociology because that is better. I was like, why should I take it? And I took up psychology. And now, when I am on the verge of having something higher than just the class 12th education, right now, they are telling me that you took up psychology, you told us that you're going to do it, you fought with us, you took up psychology, why aren't you pursuing that after 12th? And that is one gap that anyone cannot fill. We as a generation are like 2 generations younger, kind of, in the thinking, in the mindset that we have from our parents. Our generation is like a very, very, very modern generation, and what we have as parents, they are like, they think what is right, they think what could be done, they think right now they were like, take up psychology, you have to do it. And after that, I didn't.
Sociology.
No, like first I had.
There is a discipline
sociology.
called social psychology.
Yeah, I know, but I didn't want to take up psychology now. So now that I'm talking. What do you want now? PJMC. Like I need English literature. I wanted English honors, and now I have to compromise it. I wanted to learn about everything, every literature article that.
Quiet, please.
Yes.
Quiet.
I answered because at that point of time, when there was a clear choice between sociology and psychology, obviously psychology interested me more. But now that I am here after 2 years, I think that my love for reading novels and writing them is better than that interest in psychology.
And maybe your set of skills from psychology helps you to understand the text, because literature is psychological. Every good novel, every good piece of even academic article is psychological, and majority of your literature major will never be able to get it as deeply and to analyze it as in such a structured way as you will be able. So I really hope, I don't give you any advice, but I cross my fingers for you that you are strong enough in what you want, and if in 5 years you will be ready for back psychology to psychology again, or philosophy, or engineering, you do it again.
You can always keep up your interest and love for literature, and you can keep reading literature as much as you can. It is eventually going to. Nowadays, they're even teaching literature in business and management schools, right? Literature is something which is going to help you in any profession that you go in the future.
And your parents, do they know anything about the education system or your passions? I doubt. Your relatives, no way they won't know. They are older generation people. They won't know what is happening. So they are just part of the social system pressurizing you to take things that you are not interested in. That's part of almost everyone's story. So you are not alone in that.
Okay, I think if you don't have any further questions, it seems like many of you are feeling quite restless, as I can make out from all the humming noise around the room. So I'm going to close this session with the hope that this discussion was helpful for all of you. And if you have any further queries or questions, you feel free to get in touch with us, and in the future also.